Hi, I'm Jon Kirkman. I'm a journalist and a broadcaster based in the UK. And seeing as lots of us are going back into lockdown again, I'd like to maybe point you in the direction of things you may have missed or something that's coming out new. Now, this came out a couple of weeks ago, actually, as we stand in the middle of October. It is the box set for Richard and Linda Thompson. Now, Richard and Linda Thompson, I'm sure those who are into that kind of thing, kind of folk rock really. Richard had been a founder member of Fairport Convention, but he left following the, I think the album Full House, and he went his own way, wanted to do not so much different stuff, although there were a lot of songs that weren't suitable for Fairport Convention regarding Richard's compositions. Him and Dave Swarbrick had written some great songs for the band, but he wanted to move into different directions. Now, this box set covers, as you can see on the back, from 1972 right the way through to, I think it was 1980, 81. So it goes from the very early times when Richard and Linda were singing together. They got together, I think the first time they recorded together probably was when a lot of the Fairport guys and Sandy Denny, of course, the Fairport girls, got together to record an album of rock and roll standards, really. A load of rock and roll songs under the name The Bunch. And it was one of the very first albums to actually be recorded at Richard Branson's Manor Studios. The first Richard and Linda Thompson album was I Want to See the Bright Lights Tonight. And that was originally released in 1974, although it was released later than it was recorded, much later. It was nearly a year after it had been recorded. It was recorded, I think, the phrase on a shoestring budget. And of course, during that time, we were undergoing a crisis in the world, a shortage of oil. And vinyl, well, oil was a big part of the process in making vinyl records. So they kind of held back on the release for quite some time for that. It was released almost a year after it was recorded. And it came out and it got great critical reviews, and there's some great songs on there, as rightly it should do. But sadly, it didn't sell incredibly well. But it's not because of the quality of the album or the songs. It's a really, really good album. It was originally going to be called Hokey Pokey, but eventually that became the title of their second album. Anyway, it goes right the way through the 70s here to the End album, which is, again, the last album they recorded. Richard and Linda sadly divorced, and that really kind of saw the end of their sort of partnership in terms of a professional partnership. Now, all the discs, there's 8 discs here, come in these lovely little wallets. This is the first wallet. It's how they appear. And on the back, these are the sort of eras that they actually cover. This particular disc, the first disc, covers Henry the Human Fly, which was Richard's first solo album, and of course the Bunch material. And it also features I Want to See the Bright Lights Tonight, Hokey Pokey, Pour Down Like Silver. And all these albums have bonus tracks on. This is the second one, which of course features a picture of Linda, and again, similar format to the previous box as the other 4 discs in the second part of the set. And this covers some live stuff, which is some great stuff. I remember seeing Richard and Linda on the Old Grey Whistle Test, and it's just Richard with an acoustic and a pair of them singing. And it was absolutely, really a very, very intimate performance, but it was a lovely performance. And of course, Richard wrote great songs, even though some of them were a little quirky on the Henry the Human Fly. Another great album, actually, which I think people should check out because it's a really interesting album, but again, didn't sell that well at the time. Again, this album, really, really good album. It didn't sell well at the time, and I can't understand why, because again, I think it's one of their best albums. This album I remember vividly. It was called Sunny Vista, and it's almost like a brochure for a holiday camp somewhere. But I also remember at the time they had a single out called Georgie on a Spree, which had originally been recorded for Hokey Pokey. But they got some of their Fairport chums in to re-record it for a TV series called Kiss the Girls and Make Them Cry. which basically echoes the lyrics of the song. It was quite funny, really, because the song was written some 5 years before the actual TV series. But I remember the series well, and I remember the theme tune, and it was released as a single on Chrysalis Records, which was by then their record label. This was the last album they made, and it came out on Hannibal Records. And Hannibal Records was owned by Joe Boyd, who had previously been a friend of Richard, of course, in his Fairport days. And I think actually him and Linda dated at one point. But he put the album out, and that was the last album that Richard and Linda did. I actually saw Richard and Linda a couple of times live. I saw them on the Hokey Pokey tour, which was a great little tour. I really enjoyed that tour. They also did a TV appearance on a British TV show called Disco 45, which had nothing to do with disco, but actually came from a very important live venue in Manchester at the time called the Hard Rock. And they were performing songs including Hokey Pokey on that particular TV programme. And I'm not sure whether I've seen that anywhere on YouTube or anywhere else, to be honest. It'd be nice if somebody could maybe dig out their performance. I know the performances on the Whistle Test are actually up on YouTube somewhere, but I think the Disco 45 from the Hokey Pokey era would have been really good. Now here's a nice book that you get with the thing, and then you always think that maybe it should be that way, and then you realise that's actually a picture. They're standing either on the edge of a canal or a lake or a pond, and that's their reflection. But the initial thing is, shouldn't it be that way? No, it isn't. That's the reflection. In the book, again, which is a kind of carry on from Bright Lights Tonight, that's a kind of a portion of the sleeve. What you get in here are the reminiscences of Richard and Linda, and some incredible photos. This is when they were first together, probably just after they were originally married. And this is, of course, after they'd embraced the Sufi faith. And although it didn't actually feature that much in their music instead of Richard's writings. Now again, here's the two albums that kind of open the set, really. The Bunch, which was a very, very hard to find album at one point. It came out and then it was deleted for many years, and you had to pay an enormous amount of money to find that on the original label. This, of course, was Richard's debut album back in 1972, which Linda sings on as well. And that's Henry the Human Fly. Strange cover, but I really like the songs on that album. Maybe I'm one of the few, but I really like that album. And I have to be honest, I've liked what Richard has done right the way through his career, both with Fairport and with Linda, of course, and as a solo artist. There's a couple of really nice portraits of both Linda there and Richard back in the day. And you get the full story about all the tracks and what was going on in their lives at the time. There's a great picture of both Richard and Linda, and because that's how they used to perform. They started performing in folk clubs. That's a photo of their wedding day, and there's a picture of Richard when he was playing support to Sandy Denny. I think that was actually at the Lincoln Festival in 1971, but I think it was just after he'd left Fairport that he helped out Sandy Denny. Of course, he helped out Sandy quite a few times over the years as well. For instance, Richard and Linda's song called "The Shame of Doing Wrong," that was actually featured on Sandy's last studio album, Rendezvous. So a really good connection still with the Fairport guys, who all kind of sort of float in and out of Richard and Linda's career. I think Simon Nicol was actually part of the Richard and Linda band on their final tour before it all kind of went asunder in America, and I think Linda had a bit of a breakdown there. But the connection with the Fairports is still very, very strong to this day. There you go, perhaps recreating Abbey Road. It's not in Abbey Road. But again, the book is full of wonderful photographs, and many of which I've never seen before. Having been a huge fan of Richard and his work, and of course Richard and Linda Thompson, I've not seen a lot of these photos before. So now here's, I think that's the promo poster for the Hokey Pokey tour there. And again, the songs on the Hokey Pokey album I really like a lot. I think it's a lovely album. And on their version of Georgie on a Spree on Hokey Pokey, they've got a brass band on there. It's a totally different version to the one that came out in 1979. And as I said, that came out as a single to tie in with the TV series on the BBC, Kiss the Girls and Make Them Cry. But when Sunny Vista came out on CD, then the actual single was added as a bonus track, although it wasn't originally on the vinyl album. And this is the period of time when they recorded and released Pour Down Like Silver. And they were recognisably dressed in, if you like, clothes that, there you go, that's the front and the back of the cover. So that at this time they'd fully embraced the Sufi faith there, which is a form of Islam. So again, these songs, they really resonate right the way through. For all the 40 plus years that these songs have been available. And this book will take you through. While you're playing it, you can just listen to the songs, and it really does take you back. There's another one of Richard and Linda at an acoustic performance. And again, there was a live album. There's some live tracks on this box set, and they're wonderful live tracks. And I think 75, 77. Again, these photos are from the Old Grey Whistle Test. Now, I remember seeing them on the Old Grey Whistle Test when they performed on there. It's just Richard and Linda, Richard with acoustic guitar and Linda singing, and it was absolutely entrancing. It really was. Now, this is the way they looked for First Light. They've moved on a little bit from the Pour Down Like Silver era, although there wasn't that much difference between the time. There wasn't a great deal of space time-wise. But they did change their. There you go. That's a later photo. And again, it's really an amazing thing to think that they didn't really. Well, there were a couple of songs I guess you could have maybe laid at the door of the Sufi faith, but not that many, to be honest with you. They were just really good songs. And Richard's songs always have a twist in them, and they're really, really interesting. But they're beautifully played and really nice and melodic as well, though people do say Richard has a liking for the more darker end of the composing scale. Yeah, he writes a couple of dark songs, of course, but he generally writes some wonderful songs. That is, of course, from the Sunny Vista era. Would you like to book into that holiday camp? I don't know, it doesn't look too bad, because that, I think, was the way brochures looked for holiday camps and budget airlines and package holidays back in the day. So they captured that very, very well. There's a beautiful photo of Linda. I think that's taken from the final tour that they did. They did the UK. I saw them at the gig in Manchester, which it's actually at a place that no longer exists. It's a hotel now. The facade still exists, but they played at the Free Trade Hall in Manchester, which is a very, very important gig in Manchester. And here's the Shoot Out the Lights cover. Now again, a few years ago, Warner's or Rhino in America put out a deluxe edition of this with a lot of previously unreleased songs. Originally the album was going to be produced by Jerry Rafferty, and some of the Jerry Rafferty versions are on this box set. But it wasn't to be, and in the end, I think Joe Boyd came in and finished it off. Again, more photos there. And I think that looks like it was from Linda's first solo album, following the split between her and Richard. Again, beautiful photographs, and you can also see there, it could be for Shoot Out Lights. I guess it must be because it's in the Richard and Linda book, because there's their photo on the wall. Now, I'm not 100% sure, but I think the reason why her photo's on the wall was because she was pregnant at the time, and they didn't want a full-length picture. But I think that was the story anyway. But the album is, I have to say, one of their best. I love the track Wall of Death. I love that track. It's about a thing basically that used to be something that was in fairgrounds, particularly travelling fairgrounds, where a guy would get on a motorbike and it was like he'd just drive right the way around, horizontal, and people would look in to this big sort of round space where the motorcyclist was driving around. It's called the Wall of Death, and yeah, very, very much harking back to the very old days of fairs and travelling fairs around the UK. Again, you get all the info for all the songs here as well, who played on what and from which album, etc. So there's plenty of information here. Again, more information. I mean, on 8 discs, you really can't argue with the value for money on this particular set. It's beautiful, and that's a wonderful photo, isn't it? But I have to say that this has been one of my favourite releases this year. The albums still stand the test of time, in my opinion, and it's highly unlikely that Richard and Linda are ever going to perform in a professional capacity again, but you have an awful lot of live material on this box set, and it's well worth hunting down. It's been out a few weeks now, but I think someone somewhere in your household would love this as a Christmas present. It really is the final word on the work that they did. And they did an awful lot of work in the 70s. They released some wonderful albums. They did a lot of great concerts. And of course, both of them carry on. Richard has continued to perform and record albums. Linda had a problem. I think it was called dysphonia. I'm not sure what the correct title was, but she had a problem with her voice. But she still managed to make some solo albums. And I think she did one a couple of years ago, which was a really nice album. And I think she's in the middle of recording something now. So we wish her the very best of luck for that, because she's got a wonderful voice. I love Linda's voice. And again, seen them on the telly here in the northwest of England quite a few times. Even when Richard and Linda joined Fairport, I think it was about 1981, and they did an evening show for a late evening show for Granada Television. So again, if you can hunt that out, it's well worth checking out. I remember that vividly. But a lot of the stuff that's on this album and this box set has never been released before. You get the albums, but you also get a lot of outtakes and live material as well. So it really is the final word on Richard and Linda's work from 1974 through to about 1981, 82 when they split. And highly recommended. What more can I say? Thank you, Richard and Linda. It's a wonderful set.